All right. So, this morning I asked I asked ChatGPT. I said, "Hey, there's more tools than ever, right? Like we have AI, this AI. We have so many tools. Why is it that a lot of people still don't take action?" So, this was what I inputted into ChatGPT. I said, "We have access to all of these AI tools that can create digital products for us, but we're still not launching them. Write me 5 reasons why humans are still not taking action, even though we have access to these advanced tools. Along with each reason, provide me with a metaphorical reference that I can use to ensure the point gets across." So I'm literally going to go through this and I'm going to read through this and maybe make a couple additional points to some of this stuff. I would say the majority of it I agree with. Okay. So, absolutely, here are 5 reasons why people still aren't launching digital products despite having access to all of these powerful tools. So, the first one here is they're waiting for permission. They're waiting for permission. And I was like, that's actually really good. So, the metaphor is it's like standing at a buffet with an empty plate, waiting for someone to tell you it's okay to eat while everyone else is already filling their plates. So, this is huge because it's true. If you get on social media, you're seeing a bunch of people who are like, "Oh my gosh, I just made this amount in selling digital services and selling digital products." And you're like, "How are all these other people eating? And I have access to the same tools they have access to, and I'm not eating like them." And by the way, I want to say this too. Everything I'm speaking about, I am guilty of as well. Okay. I'm going to say that through every live. All of these points that I'm making, I am also guilty of this. All right. So I am not saying that, "Oh my gosh, you're not doing this." I am guilty of this as well. There's so many things that I see out there that I'm like, why didn't I just do that? Why am I not doing that? So I want to put that out there. So even with AI making creation faster, many people still feel like they need permission from an expert, a mentor, or even society itself to declare, "I am ready." This mental block keeps them stuck at the starting line. That is such a huge point. Okay. Like, and this is one of the reasons why you have a lot of people that they may have all of the tools, but they have to be a part of some type of program. They got to be a part of some type of community. They have to have some mentor or someone to say, "Hey, do it, launch this, hit the go button, hit the publish button, start to sell, put your pricing out there." Like they need someone to say, "Hey, you are allowed, you are able to do this now." All right. So I think that's a really good point. So the second item here is they're drowning in possibility analysis. They're drowning in possibility analysis. This is sort of like analysis paralysis to an extent, but it's more possibility analysis. It's like being given a room full of Lego bricks, but having no clue which set to build. So you just sit there overwhelmed by all of the options you have. I mean, such a good metaphor. AI opens up endless ways to create ebooks, courses, templates, guides, checklists, and more. But instead of clarity, people feel paralyzed by choice. Too many options lead to no action at all. Too many options lead to no action at all. So just imagine, I mean, with all of this AI stuff, I mean, technically speaking, I mean, you have the ability to create whatever you want. Access to information isn't even a thing anymore. But because we have access to so much, many of us will get like paralyzed because there's so much we can do. I mean, there's so much we can do. So I think this is a really good one. They're drowning in possibility paralysis. The third one here is they don't trust their own voice. It's like having a microphone in hand at a karaoke party, but refusing to sing because you think someone else's song would sound better. Even with AI writing drafts, people question if their story, their expertise, or their spin is valuable enough. They fear their product will be ignored or criticized, so they hide instead of publish. There's this one, there's this one coach. Her name is Danielle Leslie, and I remember I was on one of her webinars, and she was speaking about the something known as a culture ad. A culture ad. So just imagine this, right? Like there are a lot of people who the words, like what you're hearing, what you're speaking to, doesn't necessarily matter as much as who's speaking it. And oftentimes there are a lot of people that are really they're connected to a certain source speaking to them. Everyone else may not have access. So one example of this could be like, let's say you have an audience of people who are let's say Caribbean, right? You have a set of you have an audience that there's a lot of Caribbean people, and many of them are like, well, I'm not really gonna listen to, regardless of what the words are. I'm not gonna listen to this person that looks, let's say it's an older white male with gray hair. I'm not gonna listen to the older white male with gray hair the same way I would listen to the younger bald-headed guy with the beard that has a slight accent, right? Like, think about this. The information itself doesn't matter. It's not the information that is able to deliver the message. It's the fact that there's something about you that connects with a particular audience. If everything was about who had the best information, then there would be absolute winners. There would be absolute winners, but that's not the case because you have that little thing, those elements about you. It could be your voice, it could be part of your story, it could be something that you overcame, it could be your affiliations, it could be your location. It could be your location. I mean, think about that. You could be a coach, you could be a consultant, you could be a creative that lives in a certain area, and because you're there, like you're able to speak to those people differently than someone who's not there, right? So again, there's so many elements that puts you in a position to at least be able to trust your own voice, and it's important that you try to figure out what's inhibiting you from doing so, because again, it's it's not a matter of what you're saying anymore, because you could generate all of this. It's a matter of the fact that you decide to have people hear your voice. All right. So, and by the way, for anybody who just tuned in, as a recap, I'm going through this list of reasons. So I basically asked ChatGPT. I said, "Hey, there's a ton of people who, even with all of these tools, like AI tools, even with all of these tools, they're still not taking action. Why?" And so I've been going through this list that ChatGPT gave me. The first big reason is they're waiting for permission. Like they want some expert, some mentor, or even a community to give them permission to say, hey, let me hit the launch button. Let me do this. The second reason that they gave was they're drowning in possibility paralysis. Like there's an endless amount of ways and endless amount of things that you can create. But because there's so many options, you get paralyzed. The metaphor that ChatGPT came up with was it's like being given a room full of Lego bricks, but having no clue which set to build. So you just sit there overwhelmed by the options. This is happening day in, day out. Third thing is they don't trust their own voice. And so I was just speaking on this, the fact that your story and some way that you deliver your message, your experiences, all of that can build an audience that love you. They want to hear it from you, you know. And I also gave a little caveat too. I also said, all of this that I'm speaking to, I'm guilty of this as well. So that's why like I connect with it, because I'm like, yes, each one of these reasons, these are big reasons why you don't publish, why you don't, say, hey, everybody, here's an offering. And there's little things that need to be done to get you over that. So, Malik said triggered. Yeah, this stuff is triggering. This stuff is definitely triggering. The fourth thing here is they mistake tools for transformation. It's like buying the best gym equipment, but thinking the equipment alone will get you fit. without actually doing the workouts. Just having access to ChatGPT, Canva, or Midjourney doesn't automatically make someone a successful product creator. The real work, the planning, the positioning, the marketing still requires intentional effort. People confuse tool access with actual progress. That's even more triggering. That's even more triggering. It's I mean, there's this paradox that I read about a little while ago by the Dalai Lama. Um, let me see if I could read this to you, because the Dalai Lama has it's called the paradox of our age. Hold on. The Dalai Lama, the paradox of our age. So we have more degrees but less sense. We have more medicines but less wellness. We have more information to produce but less communication. We have more experts but more problems. We have more conveniences but less time. We have more possessions but fewer values. I mean, it's such a paradox. So we are in this space right now where, yeah, we have more tools, but many people are having trouble because they're confusing the tools for just transformation. ChatGPT, this stuff is not going to do the work for you. You still have to do the work to connect with people. You still got to get people to trust you. You still got to refine your voice so that you're not just connecting to the logical side of people, you're connecting to the emotional, the spiritual side as well, because that's what moves people to validate their purchase and validate their action with the logic. Malik, I hate that I'm at work watching this. Are you leaving this replay up? Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna be leaving this up, so you can definitely check this out later. So so thanks for the support, man. Um, but again, like we mistake tools for transformation. Now, I asked ChatGPT to only give me five, so I'm gonna stop here. Right. The last one is they're addicted to consumption, not creation. It's like binge watching cooking shows, but never stepping into the kitchen to cook a single meal. AI makes it fun and easy to explore, research, and experiment. I'm gonna say that again. AI makes it fun to and easy to explore, research, and experiment. But many people get stuck in research mode instead of launch mode. Creation requires commitment, and that's scarier than endlessly consuming. I mean, again, think about this, right? Think about this. Even in itself, like this, hold on, where am I at? Even this activity of me coming on here and reading to you something that you could generate yourself. I mean, you could generate all this yourself. You can hop on ChatGPT and ask it, "Hey, why don't people take action?" And you get the same responses that I'm getting. It's not a matter of just generating something. It's a matter of you making the decision to say, "Hey, let me commit to creating." I decided to come on here today, turn my camera on, set it up so that you can read what I'm following and you could see me. You can see me, you can hear my voice, you can hear the energy coming from me in order for you to consume the same information. And again, I'm adding, like, think about this, right? Like, this brought up the fact that you, like, it's binge watching cooking shows but never stepping into the kitchen. The same, you could still metaphorically connect that to what you're learning and what you're generating with your own flavoring. If I were to ask ChatGPT right now, "Hey, write me a recipe for fried chicken," it's going to write a very basic recipe for fried chicken. But again, because of the fact that, let's say, my family's from the Caribbean, because of what I used to cook in college, because of that one meal where I had to sort of I had to improvise a little bit, and so I used something else. But then because I used it, I was like, "Yo, that actually tastes really good." Now all of a sudden, my experiences adds a different flavoring to the same recipe, or not to the same recipe, to a standard recipe that everyone else can consume. Right? So think about this, right? Let's say during college, I improvised and I said, "Hey, let me add a little bit of and I'm not saying I do this, but let's say I added a little bit of sugar to this, or I added some honey to that, and I sat here and I did something because I had to improvise. This was because that one day when I was in college, I looked at what I had and I had to work with it. I didn't feel like going out to the grocery store. I did something. My experience turned into a favorable outcome, and I said, "Hey, from now on, I'm going to add this to my recipe." That experience didn't happen for ChatGPT. That experience didn't happen to all of the other people creating all of these generic recipes. That experience happened to me. So now I created some outcome that I'm like, yo, this tastes great. And I am able to, again, add my flavoring to something standard that can be generated. So we all can do this. You can do this too. You can do this as well. You can leverage AI to create something, and then you find value in your flavoring. Now, the purpose of this video is to just outline the fact that there is evidence, and there's a logical set of of facts that makes all of this so triggering. These are reasons why people don't take action. And the reason I'm recording this is because knowing that there are reasons and being aware of these reasons, you can say, all right, well, if I'm having, like, an example, if I'm having issues with, if I'm awaiting permission, why don't I put myself in a position to get that permission? Let me join an organization so that I could be in proximity of other people that are going to give me permission. What if I find somebody who can mentor me so that I can get that permission, or I can get that resistance to validate that there was something wrong, but at least I have someone that's making me aware of it, or validating that I should be aware of it, but supporting me in doing what I need to do. Like, if you know that you waiting for permission is inhibiting you from launching, then find the permission. Find the permission. If you're drowning in possibility paralysis, you're in a room full of Legos, figure out how you can put your mind in a mode where you eliminate possibilities. Eliminate possibilities. There's I forgot who I was listening to, but he said that the biggest skill you can gain as an entrepreneur is eliminating options. That's the greatest skill you can have as an entrepreneur, is to eliminate options. I heard this as well years ago. The word decide. I say this a lot. I reference this a lot. The word decide comes from this root word, sedir, and I can't recall if it's Latin or whatever, but either way, the root word of decide is sedir, and that root word is in a lot of other words as well. It's in pesticide, homicide, suicide, genocide, scissors. I mean, it's in a lot of different words, but overall, the word in itself means to cut off. Wilby Morris, Danielle McGill. Okay, cool. Oh, okay, thanks. I needed those references. Dang, now I got to save this. Oh, you're tagging people. Oh, I thought those were people you were referencing. Sorry. So that root word is in other words, and it means to cut off. So when you decide, you are cutting off all other options. So think about this, right? Like, when you're in this position where you realize, like, hey, I'm a I'm addicted to all of these possibilities. Now that you're aware of what you're addicted to, you can try to figure out to how to minimize that exposure. So you can say, hey, you know what? Like, let me now force myself to not even think about, let me try to make these other possibilities over here look bad to myself. Let me make it look bad to myself so that I can make this possibility right here even sweeter. They don't trust your own voice. It's like, you may fear your product being ignored or criticized, so you don't end up publishing. This is where you can lean into the value of your own voice. The value of your own voice. Again, it's one of those things where, like, we could all be guilty of creating these these inhibitors, we could be prone to doing it because it's easy. It's so easy to sort of hide behind some of this stuff. It's easy not to publish. It's easy to combine this one with this one, which is just being addicted to consumption. I can't tell you how many people I've spoken to and worked with, and they spend years researching. They spend years saying, "Oh yeah, oh Mike, man, that's really, yeah, man, let me research that." What are you researching? I want to know, what are you researching? And even when you think about the just the overall definition of research, research isn't blind exploration. Research is not blind exploration. Research is you coming up with some type of like hypothesis, and you say, "Hey, I think that this is true. I think that this is true, and I need to validate that truth. I need to find evidence that that is actually true." So much so that if someone were to challenge whether or not that thing is true, I can tie back to things that are validated and are credible sources and some type of credible evidence. I'm connecting credible evidence with something that I find to be true. And so you get to this point where you defend it. That's research. Research isn't, "Oh, I watched 50 YouTube videos and now I feel more educated on how to create digital products, or how to sell this, or how to create that, or how to build this." You watching more YouTube videos is not research. You finding evidence that something that you're postulating to be true is research. Okay? So, so again, find your voice, find value in it, and then find evidence that there's value in it. And lastly, you mistake tools for transformation. There's not going to be, I mean, there's tools out of, I mean, there's so many tools now. I mean, you can, there's a tool for everything. If you're scared to be on camera, there's a tool for that. If you don't want to, if you want to replicate your voice using AI, there's a tool for that. You want to replicate your face and yourself talking, there's a tool for that now. You want to be able to create, automatically create an entire presentation, there's a tool for that. You want to be able to use AI to create all of your YouTube and Instagram content, there's a tool for that. Like, there's a tool for everything. So again, my whole thing here is, if there's a tool for everything, there's reasons why people aren't doing it. There's reasons why people aren't saying, like, man, like, let me just do this. And think about this too, right? A lot of people are in this position, so much so that they don't even, like, they'll make the excuse that the tools are so expensive, not even knowing how much the tools cost. I mean, think about that. I've asked people, like, "Yo, like, do you know how much it costs to be able to have the ability to generate this and that?" And they're like, "No, I don't know." And I'm like, "But hold on, but you said it was expensive. What were you referencing?" "Oh, I was just thinking it would be expensive." And I'm like, "But you see how you literally created your own inhibitor. You created your own mountain that you now have to climb. You created that. And this is for everything. I mean, think about, like, running ads, anything. Like, I ask people, like, "Hey, you know, you said you need to make 5 sales. Like, how much in ads do you think you got to spend?" "Oh, no, no, ads are too expensive." Well, how much? What's expensive to you? "Oh, well, I don't know. I don't know how much ads are. I just know they're expensive." And I'm like, you're just creating doors that you got to walk through, and you're creating a bunch of locked doors that you got to walk through. You're creating these doors. Sometimes the doors are already open. You're just creating more doors. So sometimes we're doing this to ourselves. So my big thing with people is, like, now I'm starting to, and let me make myself full screen, because I don't think I really have to reference this too much, but now I'm starting to get to this point where I'm realizing that there's work to be done to get people to a space where they can take action. I'm going to say that again. There's work to be done to get people to a space where they decide and they're able to take action. Sometimes it's having a discussion with them around some type of trauma that they may have experienced. It could have been losing their job, or losing a big opportunity, or it could be getting scammed by somebody. I can't tell you how many people I've spoken to, and they're like, "Oh my God, I worked with this person and they ran away with my money," and now all of a sudden, because somebody ran away with their money, they're scared as hell to invest in anything else. And what's funny too, like sometimes people are they're scared of stuff, and years have gone by, and when they start to look at what they actually, like, what the pain was, sometimes they end up realizing, well, damn, like, oh, they ran away with $500, but it wasn't that. Now that I'm thinking about it, that's not really that bad. Like, I was scared to do anything because I lost $500 at some point years ago, but now, like, the 500 is a rounding error. Like, it's not as painful for me now, you know. Malik, No Limits by John C. Maxwell taught me this. So good. Yeah, John. Man, there's so many books by John C. Maxwell that I think are such valuable reads. So I don't think I've ever checked out No Limits, but I gotta check that out. I gotta check that out. Um, but again, like, let's try to identify. Like, think about this again. There are little experiences throughout our life. There are little experiences throughout our life that we look at, and we have a perspective on it. And the perspective can either result in fear or favor. Fear or favor. Do you know how many people, like, something may happen to them, and it's like, oh my gosh, like, you know, I, I'm trying to think of something good. I got into, something happened with my computer. My computer got hacked, and then I lost everything. And one person would go through that, and then they'll fear computers for the rest of their life. Someone else will go through that, and they're like, well, because I'm so careful, it created my next layer of opportunities now. Because I went through that issue, because I went through that pain, I'm now in such a way better position now, because that part of my story has helped so many more people connect with me. That part of my story frames how I make decisions. I mean, all of that can mold what. So, and I'm sorry, I keep digressing here, but I feel like there's really good points to make. Most of us look at life forward. Like, we're like, oh well, we're this age, we're 35, we're 40, whatever, and then we're looking at, like, oh, okay, well, I'm looking at life forward. What do I need to do today? And I'm not saying not to live in the moment, but a lot of people, like, they tend to look at life as though it's this perpetual thing, versus reverse engineering it and saying, okay, based off of what I find opportunity in right now, and hear me out here really closely, based off of what I find opportunity in right now, and what I think there's favor to be created right now, I only have 15 more years to do it. I only have 15. My window right now is 15 years or 10 years. And honestly, that's if I'm lucky. That's if I'm lucky. That's if I'm lucky. Okay? 15 years. And so what that does, that puts you in this position now where it's like, all right, well, if I look back and I say, well, I only have 15 years, well, every moment that I mean, let me do some of the math here. If I were to do that 15 years, right, 15 times 12 is 180. So for every month that goes by, that's something coming out of that bucket, that 180 bank account that I have. Like, that's all I got. So if you start to look at things that way, I think that it can help you with structuring your approach towards achieving some 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 iterative successes along the way. Most of us, we got degrees, we finished school, we got certifications, we made it to a certain level or ladder within an organization. A lot of that happened because there was some framework, and there were little micro deadlines that had to be put along the way, and that curriculum gave us enough structure to finish. Sometimes when we look at things just forward, sometimes we don't have enough structure to finish. So we have to create that structure, that framework, so that we can say, hey, this has to be done by this month, by next month, by this quarter. And once you start to put that in place, things start to things start to come to fruition. So we have the tools. We just have to figure out uh, what's causing us not to take action. All right. So if you have any questions about this, as always, I mean, I always end my videos like this. But if you have any questions about any of this stuff, hit me up. We'd love to have a conversation with you. Join my community. I'm renaming my community. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments about this. But I rebranded all of my stuff to Amplified Inbound. I love the word amplified, and I'm keeping the word amplified. But I'm noticing that when it comes to the word inbound, not everyone is fully concerned with inbound opportunities and inbound leads and inbound prospects and inbound customers and stuff like that. So just focusing on marketing, I feel like put me in this little corner. So so I even asked ChatGPT this. I was at ChatGPT like, based off of everything that I input into it, and this idea came from Chris Coburn. Everything that I've been putting into it, how would you describe me? Like, how would you describe me? And um, what it did was it spit this out. So hold on, where am I at? Hold on, let me. Where is the? Okay, here we go. So it spit this out about me. I basically asked it, analyze my communication patterns based off of our conversations so far. Tell me what you observe about my thinking style, decision making approach, and potential blind spots. So what it did was it said, I for one I have a systems orient. I'm systems oriented with a builder's mindset. So I tend to think about things in frameworks and processes and systems. It also said that I'm future focused with a bias for action, which I definitely think is accurate. It also said that I've multi-threaded thinking. So I think that there are a lot of things that can conceptually happen at once. I have this action first, refine later approach. But let me get down to the part where uh, I told it to make it more concise. It said I think in systems and frameworks. I act fast, refine later. I juggle multiple projects at a time. I combined insights across industries. But the blind spots, it said overbuilding before validating, which can definitely hurt in some cases. I have brand fragmentation, and I do too much myself. I do too much myself, and and you've probably seen in some of my recent videos. Like I got very frustrated at some things that other people find to be very easy. And a lot of that came from me sort of having this thought that, oh my gosh, if I could do it myself, then my skills are more valuable and I'm more valuable. And yuck. I would say that's one of my worst attributes. Um, Malik, we're so accustomed to putting out. So receive is almost a double entendre. Yes, yeah, no, true, very true, very true. Overbuilding before validating. Yeah, so and that has been like I'm currently working with a number of entrepreneurs right now on experiments that they can conduct in order to validate an idea prior to investing in doing it, like creating it. Because once you start to create something, and you start to pay for it, now all of a sudden, like the business is now it's more of a liability than it is an asset. And there's no such thing as having something that's not validated. It doesn't have a set of validated value to it. There's not evidence that it's valued at a certain amount, right? Like an example, let's take real estate because I think a lot of people can understand real estate a little bit easier. If I were to speak to any of you and you were to say, hey, like my house is worth 400, $500,000. That's not some number that you thought of in your head. Well, I'm hoping that you don't think this way. If you think this way, then I'm hoping you know this way. So the value of your house isn't just a number you thought of in your head. There's evidence to show that someone else will perceive your house to be worth that. Now think about this. Hear me out with this. Hear me out. Your house is not valuable. And your house is not valuable unless someone else values it. Okay? And I know sometimes this can be challenging to hear, but and I'm going to connect it in a moment here. Nothing you have is valuable unless someone else values it. The key here is when you know how some people say, "Oh, well, you need to define your own value, know your worth, know your worth." That is it's misconstrued a lot. It's not about you sitting back and thinking you're valuable. It's not about you sitting back and thinking you're valuable. It's about you creating instruments and deploying experiments to align it with what you see. That's why I say, like when you say research, right? Research is you having some hypothesis. You're like, hey, you know what? I am valuable. I should be getting paid $450,000 a year. So now all of a sudden, that is my hypothesis. I then take that and I deconstruct it a little bit, and I start to go out and find evidence that that's true. What skills, what acumen, what resources, what connections, what platforms, what do I own that validates that I should be getting paid $450,000 a year? And what's going to start to happen is you're going to start to see pieces come in. Hey, you know, and by the way, I'm not speaking to my own self. I'm just throwing out a number here. So I don't want people hitting me up. Oh, you make 400. Relax. I'll start to say, okay, well, I have access to this audience over here, and most of these individuals are entrepreneurs who own these type of businesses. Oh, I have access to this over here. I have access to this particular platform. I've created this amount of assets. I've worked on these type of projects. You can start to say, oh well, I have this experience. I have this experience. And once you start to piece this stuff together, that's when you could start to validate your definition of your self-worth. But again, this whole like frou like I should be I'm worth this and I'm worth that. That's not the case. You have to take on the work to go out and validate how you're posturing yourself. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because this entire live here is all about taking action. Okay, it's all about taking action, and it's all about why. Why do we not take action, even though we have access to all of these advanced tools? And a lot of it is internal. A lot of it is how we perceive. It's how we perceive connecting these dots. So if you leverage these instruments to say, hey, okay, there's something that I'm facing that's causing me not to use this instrument. There's something I'm facing that's causing me not to price this. There's something I'm facing that's causing me not to do the research to identify what the cost will be to acquire these things. There's something that's causing me to to get addicted to consumption. There's some feeling that I'm getting. There's some level of dopamine. There's some dopamine response that I'm getting from consuming and considering that to be research. And then at the same time, considering that to be progress. There's something happening there that's making me consider this to be progress. And sometimes it's a matter of you sitting down, writing some of this out and saying, okay, I see what it is. I see what it is. And I'll tell you a lot of times what it is because we don't have a clear definition of progress, we then end up in perpetuity. So because we don't have a definition of progress, we end up in this, everything is perpetuity. it's like, hey, well, if I just do this forever, then what? And we're like, oh well, if I just watched YouTube videos forever, then what? And you'll start to realize, well, man, nothing happens if I just watch this forever. The only time I get progress is if I do this, or if I do this one little activity over and over again, or if I take what I do consume and I write it out and I have a clear action to it. And I say, hey, let me take action on this next week. Let me validate that this is true. Let me see if this is aligned with what I want to create. Let me determine if I were to conceptualize what my life would look like 3 years from now doing this, am I happy? Am I happy? I've had a number of discussions with folks that hit me up about certain projects, and I mean for those that don't know me, I I I love digital. I love digital stuff, right? So I work with a lot of entrepreneurs on creating and deploying different digital assets to help them with generating income online, and that's within the space of sales, marketing, and business development. I'm like the tech sales geek. Um, and so I love finding out about different tools and then leveraging that to be able to support entrepreneurs on building their revenue and their pipelines and stuff like that. Now, the thing about this is I created these gateway offerings, right? I created these gateway offerings, building websites, running campaigns and stuff like that. And I got really good. I got really good. But one day, some years ago, I was like, okay, I'm really good at the wrong things. And I was like, even though I'm really good at this, could I see myself doing this at the age of 45? Could I see myself doing this at the age of 50? Like, am I more valuable doing this work knowing that there's a fetus that can do it better than me with a little bit of time and energy? And so like I started thinking, I'm like, because I stopped, because I stopped and I looked forward a little bit and said, hey, am I on the right road here? Am I on the right road here? Because I stopped, I was able to start to say, hey, you know what? I could see myself, I could see myself, uh, I could see myself really burning out if I keep this up. I could see myself really burning out if I keep this up. And so again, I'm bringing this up because there's something that is causing, like, if you are in this space, if you're one of these people that's being described here, right? Like if you are one of these people that like you're waiting for permission, if you're waiting for permission, if you're drowning in possibility analysis, if you don't trust your own voice, if you mistake or you confuse tools for transformation, or if you're addicted to consumption, if you're in this space, if you're in this space, it's worth it to you right now to just identify how you should respond to this so that you can at least say, hey, like, do I really want my life to change? And if so, then as we spoke about, make some decisions. And I hate the frou-frou. I hate the frou-frou stuff. Like I hate motivational advice. Like I hate like, "Oh, you can do it. You can, all you gotta, man, life is gonna be amazing. Just click these three buttons." Like I hate frou-frou advice. I hate frou-frou advice. Cause you wanna know what's funny? A lot of times it's one of those things you need to explore, because sometimes it could be something that's deeper than what you're currently even thinking about. Like I can't tell you how many people I've spoken with. It's like therapy. It's like therapy. We'll have a discussion. Sometimes their inhibitors aren't like, oh well, you know, I don't know how to do A, B, and C. Sometimes it's so deep. It could be, well, hey, my perception of things I create is based off of how my siblings have always perceived me. My perspective or my perception of acceptance into different communities and stuff, a lot of that came from the dynamic that I had with my friends when I was in middle school. or the rejection that happened from that one girl that you really liked, or it could be that one time when you felt that you were doing a great job and you got laid off, and all of a sudden, like you start to frame the world around some of these experiences, not knowing that you can take those same very experiences and craft it into something that others will find valuable. Again, going back to why we don't take action with AI. AI is artificial intelligence, but you need to couple AI, artificial intelligence, with HI, which is human intelligence. And here's the most important part: you have to couple it with HE, which is human experiences. Your experiences are the flavoring to all of the stuff that people will buy. Will buy. You have to understand this. Please, if there's anything you take away from this damn talk today, just know this. People want to buy, need to buy. They yearn to buy. Please, this is something that it took me years to grasp, and I don't want it to take you years to grasp. It's something you really got to believe in. You got to figure this shit out. People yearn. They yearn to separate with money. You have to believe me here. I don't, you could, you know what? You may hear it from me, but then validate it with someone that you trust. Okay. People yearn to separate with these resources. And the reason why is because they understand that they cannot eat it. They can't feel it. They can't experience it. Money is nothing more than a normalized instrument for people to get what they really want. All you need to do is leverage your human intelligence, your human experiences, and you can amplify it with your artificial intelligence to be able to create things, and you can speak to things that will get people to want to separate with their money for you. Like think about that. That makes this equation very different. That makes this equation very different. A lot of people are trying to figure out, like, oh my gosh, like there's some wording that I have to do, or there's some messaging that I have, like there's some tool that I have to create, and they think that some tool is gonna open all these doors. It's literally, once you start to get authentic in how you're framing the challenges that you're helping people solve, all of this becomes all of this becomes more human. It becomes more human. And that is the reason why you have a lot of people, even with this world of AI, you still have a large batch of people who just don't take action. They just don't take action. And then they'll validate it with, well, I got to research. I just don't know. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. The majority of stuff that people say they don't know how to do is, I don't even think that's an excuse anymore. It's never that anymore. It's never that anymore. It's now, am I effectively and authentically getting through these little roadblocks that I most likely created for myself, and I'm developing this journey. Now think about this too, right? Do you walk through doors if you don't know what's on the other side of it? I'm going to ask this question again. Do you walk through doors if you don't know what's on? I never walk through a door if I don't know what's on the other side of it. So the reason I'm saying this is because some of us, we're creating all of these locked doors. We're creating all of these locked doors. And the crazy part is we don't even know what's on the other side of the locked door. So we're fearing things that's not even real. Have you ever heard that acronym for fear? False evidence appearing real? I know that everybody, they kill that acronym, false evidence appearing real. We're creating all of these little locked doors, and then we get frustrated because these doors aren't opening to something we have no clue what's on the other side of it. So we get stuck. We put ourselves in this box that we just like, we end up comfortable in, and time. If you think, some of y'all that know me, some of y'all might say, "Oh, Mike's rude." The rudest thing on this planet is time. The rudest. I've left friends places before because I was like, look, when I'm ready to go, you better hope you got my arm because like I'm leaving. Like I've left friends places because I'm like, yo, don't make me leave you. Just know this. That's me saying, oh well, I feel like leaving. And so time doesn't care about none of that. You cannot stop it. You can't stop it. And all of us, and not to make this dark, but all of us have expiration dates. All of us have expiration dates. So if you buy bread today, if you buy bread today and you buy chicken and you buy all this stuff, what you start to do, because you know that that bread has an expiration date, the chicken has an expiration, because you know these things have an expiration date, you start to craft recipes to align what you cook within those expiration dates. So we have to understand that as people, we all have expiration dates. And we need to say, hey, even outside of our life expiration date, we also have energy expiration date. And then we have acumen expiration dates. And then we have social expiration dates. The same social capital I have now is not the same social capital I will have 10 years from now, or even 5 years ago, or even 10 years ago. Like the proximity of people that I'm around in different seasons changes. And the same thing with you. So if you're building connections, and you're building your knowledge, you're building your platform, you're building things, just know this, you will have these seasons where you need to get to work. I mean, you don't focus on agriculture in the winter, do you? No. There's a season, and you know the season will start and then the season will end. So just right now, we're still within this very unique season where people are not fully grasping AI. We're also in this very unique season where people, like, when it comes to their self-expression, they're still figuring that out. They're still sort of emancipating themselves from what they've been conditioned to think about for years ago. We're still in this season where you can purchase a relatively decent camera and set the quality of your content apart from others. Again, we're in this season where we can separate ourselves because of a small investment. But just know this. Like I'm doing this live right now on a Sony camera, and I have my simple MacBook, and just know this. The number of people that are able to replicate this high quality scene is growing exponentially every single day. The quality of video and all that stuff, the amount of people who are gaining access is growing exponentially every single day. So my ability to separate myself based off of the quality of my videos and my audio and all this stuff, that season is going to come to an end very soon, and I'm aware of that. So that's why it's important for all of us to know that there's a season that we need to leverage. We need to plant seeds. Sometimes things may not be the best initially, but we have to make sure that we're leveraging this stuff so that we can build and we can grow and ultimately serve those who we're actually doing this for. All right. So again, if you have any questions about this stuff, please do not hesitate to hit me up. If you jumped on a little bit later, I think it would be valuable for you to check it out. Check out the replay. I might even take this and upload this on YouTube. So comment. Actually, you know what? If you logged into this late, just drop the word YouTube or something in, or replay in the comments, and I'll send you the YouTube link after I upload this, because I think this could be consumed a bit better on YouTube versus Facebook, because Facebook isn't the best platform to watch long form videos on. So I'll send you the YouTube video as soon as I upload it. All right. You guys have an amazing rest of your day, week, quarter, because the end of the quarter is coming up. And let's make the most out of this year. All right. Peace.